Never do these things for an avoidant, or you will live in regret. If you've ever dealt with an avoidant, you already know this truth on a deep level. The more you give, the more confused, emotionally drained, and unvalued you feel. You try harder, love deeper, and show more patience, yet somehow the connection feels less secure, not more. This is not because you're doing something wrong, and this video is not about blaming you, it's about clarity. Avoidants do not respond to love the same way secure people do. What feels like care, devotion, and emotional safety to you can feel overwhelming or even threatening to them. Where a secure partner moves closer when love increases, an avoidant often pulls away. That's why giving more does not create stability, it often creates distance. Avoidants respond to structure, limits, and consequences, not emotional overextension. They feel safest when boundaries are clear and roles are balanced. Without those boundaries, the relationship quietly shifts into an unhealthy dynamic where one person gives and the other stays comfortable, detached, and in control. This is where most people lose themselves. You start compromising your needs, ignoring red flags, and rationalizing behavior that slowly erodes your self-respect. Over time, you don't just lose the relationship, you lose clarity, confidence, and emotional grounding. Today I'm breaking down the top 5 things you should never do for an avoidant, because these are the exact behaviors that keep you stuck in confusion while they remain emotionally distant. These patterns feel loving in the moment, but they come with a heavy cost later: regret. This video is not about becoming colder or less compassionate, it's about understanding what actually works and what quietly destroys you. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss guidance on relationships, emotional health, and understanding avoidance. And don't forget to comment below, share your experiences, thoughts, or questions. Let's build a community where we learn, grow, and support each other in navigating these complex dynamics. Let's start. The first rule is never prioritize an avoidant over your purpose. This is where most people lose power without even realizing it. It seems harmless at first, skipping a personal goal, postponing a plan, or adjusting your schedule to accommodate them. But every small compromise adds up, and before long you are bending your life around someone who may not even recognize the sacrifices you make. When you place an avoidant above your goals, your routine, your values, and your growth, something dangerous happens. You unintentionally teach them that your life is flexible, but theirs is protected. They learn that your time, energy, and ambition are always available to them, while their own behavior carries no real consequence. This dynamic quietly shifts the balance of power in the relationship, and it's always to their advantage. Avoidants already struggle with emotional closeness. They fear dependence, they fear vulnerability, and they fear being trapped by someone else's life. So when they see you rearranging your entire world for them, canceling plans, delaying dreams, shrinking your ambitions, they don't feel closer to you. In fact, they feel less respect. You are no longer a whole person in their eyes, you are someone whose boundaries, priorities, and identity are negotiable, which makes them emotionally comfortable but erodes the value they place on you. Why does this happen? Healthy attraction requires 2 whole lives, not one life orbiting another. A relationship is strongest when both partners are self-sufficient, committed to their own growth, and able to show up fully for each other without losing themselves. When you give up your purpose for an avoidant, you become predictable, available, and emotionally dependent, all the triggers that push them to pull away. Your purpose is not a threat to love, it is the foundation of it. It signals that you respect yourself, you have boundaries, and you are capable of leading your own life. When you consistently show up for your goals, your work, and your self-respect, you send a silent but powerful message: I choose you, but I don't abandon myself. This is the position where an avoidant can even begin to respect you. It sets a standard for how they are allowed to engage with you. The moment you sacrifice your purpose for their comfort, however, you train them to take you for granted, and eventually to pull away when they feel too comfortable, knowing you'll always bend for them. Prioritizing your purpose doesn't mean being selfish or cold, it means maintaining your identity, protecting your energy, and showing that your life is valuable, both to yourself and to anyone who wants to be part of it. If an avoidant truly values you, they will respect the space you hold for yourself. If they don't, stepping back from over-prioritizing them is exactly what teaches them that respect and commitment are earned, not taken for granted. The second rule is never fix an avoidant's emotional problems for them. This rule is one of the hardest to follow, especially if you are naturally empathetic. If you feel deeply, care genuinely, and notice pain in others, your instinct is to step in to soothe, explain, support, and even fix the problems they cannot face themselves. But with avoidance, this instinct, as noble as it feels, can quickly become a trap. Avoidants often come with emotional shutdowns, unresolved trauma, and a deep fear of intimacy. They have built walls around themselves to feel safe, and any attempt to break through on your terms can be interpreted as pressure or intrusion. Your efforts to help, even when coming from love, do not heal them. In fact, they create an unhealthy dynamic where you carry the emotional weight while they remain comfortably detached. When you try to fix an avoidant, you unintentionally become their emotional crutch, not their partner. They did not ask you to take responsibility for their feelings, and even if they did, stepping into that role only reinforces avoidance rather than fostering growth. Avoidants only develop emotional maturity when they face their discomfort directly. If you regulate their emotions, explain their reactions, or shield them from consequences, they do not learn emotional responsibility. They learn how to avoid their feelings with your support. Over time, this dynamic produces something painful and exhausting. You do all the emotional labor, they do none of the emotional work. And yet, you are the one who feels drained, undervalued, and stuck. Fixing them does not create closeness, it creates imbalance. It shifts the relationship from partnership to caretaker and dependent, which may feel necessary in the moment, but slowly erodes self-respect, personal boundaries, and even your emotional health. This does not mean you cannot offer support. You can listen, you can empathize, and you can hold space for their feelings. You can provide care without sacrificing your own boundaries, but you cannot heal someone who avoids healing themselves. Attempting to do so is emotional self-abandonment, and over time, it will leave you frustrated, resentful, and exhausted. Real connection is mutual. True intimacy requires both people to take responsibility for their inner world. When each person manages their own emotional health, they are able to show up authentically and reciprocate care in meaningful ways. Anything less is not a partnership, it is a one-sided investment that benefits only the avoidant. Learning to step back, hold boundaries, and resist the urge to fix someone else's emotional life is not coldness, it is protection. It is the only way to maintain balance, preserve your self-worth, and ensure that any connection that develops is healthy, reciprocal, and truly sustainable. The third rule is never compete for an avoidant's attention. The moment you feel like you have to earn someone's attention, you are already losing. Avoidants are masters of sending mixed signals. One moment they are warm, engaged, and seemingly present. The next they are distant, cold, or even unresponsive. For someone who values connection, this can feel like a constant puzzle, and your instinct is often to work harder to solve it. You start texting more, explaining yourself, proving your worth, and competing with everything else in their life, their work, hobbies, friends, or even their silence. Every action is an attempt to gain the attention you desire. But here's the truth, competing for attention only reinforces a dangerous dynamic. It confirms that attention is a reward they control, not a natural part of a healthy relationship. You are performing, and they are judging, whether consciously or unconsciously. Healthy relationships don't require auditions, they don't require proving, chasing, or negotiating your value to someone else. When you chase an avoidant for attention, they feel powerful, not bonded. They learn that distance increases your effort, and paradoxically, your attempts to connect push them further away emotionally. They thrive on the control of inconsistency, and your efforts, though well-intentioned, feed into it. Instead of asking, "How do I get their attention?" it's time to shift your perspective and ask, "Why am I staying where attention is inconsistent?" Attention should be mutual, presence should feel natural, not forced. Interest should be given freely, not extracted through effort or sacrifice. When you realize this, you stop performing and start observing. You see whether the relationship is balanced or if it continually places your emotional energy at risk. Pulling back is not coldness or rejection, it is clarity and self-respect. When you stop competing, you stop teaching them that your attention is negotiable. You stop showing that your emotional labor is endless. You create a space where the avoidant can either step up and meet you with reciprocity or reveal their inability to engage consistently. Both outcomes are revealing, and both outcomes protect you. The strongest move is not trying harder, It's allowing reality to speak for itself. When someone's interest is genuine, consistent, and aligned with your effort, it will naturally show. When it is not, their patterns become clear, and your energy is preserved. By refusing to compete for attention, you reclaim control over your emotional life, maintain self-respect, and set the foundation for relationships that are healthy, mutual, and truly fulfilling. Competing for an avoidant's attention may feel like a strategy in the moment, but it's a trap in the long run. The power is in stepping back, observing, and valuing your own presence as much as theirs. That is the true path to emotional balance and lasting connection. The fourth rule is never overinvest before an avoidant earns it. Overinvestment is one of the fastest ways to lose yourself in a relationship, especially when dealing with an avoidant. It starts subtly, giving more attention than they give back, offering emotional support before it's reciprocated, or prioritizing their needs above your own too early. Before you know it, you've placed yourself in a position of vulnerability that the avoidant did not earn, and in many cases does not even recognize. Giving too much too soon, emotionally, mentally or physically, creates a clear power imbalance. Avoidants feel safest when they hold more control. The moment you invest deeply without their consistent effort, you send a message that your time, energy and emotions are available without proof. In other words, you communicate, "I'll give," without evidence that you value or reciprocate it. Humans naturally value what they must earn. If something is freely given without any effort or commitment from the other person, it often loses perceived value, and this is especially true with avoidance. Overinvesting communicates that your attachment is unconditional, your boundaries are flexible, and your worth is negotiable, and unfortunately, this creates an environment where the avoidant can disengage without consequence, while you remain emotionally tied. This rule does not mean playing games or being manipulative. It is not about withholding love to make someone earn it through tricks or testing. It is about matching energy. Your investment should grow in alignment with their behavior, not their potential. If they show effort, you respond with effort. If they demonstrate consistency and accountability, you deepen the connection. If they pull back or act inconsistently, you pause and protect your own emotional energy. Over-investing before it is earned does not make an avoidant stay. In fact, it does the opposite. It gives them permission to disengage emotionally while you remain attached, hoping that your consistent over-investment will eventually inspire commitment or change. Over time, this creates imbalance and resentment. You are giving more than you are receiving, and the avoidant is learning that they can remain detached without consequence. By respecting this boundary, you maintain clarity, self-respect and emotional balance. You also create a natural standard of reciprocity that an avoidant must meet if they truly want a meaningful connection. Matching investment to behavior ensures that your energy is protected, your needs are respected, and the relationship, if it continues, is grounded in genuine effort from both sides. Never overinvest before it is earned. Protect your time, your emotions, and your energy. True connection is not built on blind giving, it is built on mutual respect, consistent effort, and earned investment. That is how healthy, balanced, and sustainable relationships are formed, even with someone who is avoidant. The fifth rule is never tolerate disrespect from an avoidant, not even once. Disrespect doesn't always arrive in obvious dramatic ways. It isn't always a loud argument, harsh words, or public humiliation. Most often it shows up subtly, almost invisibly, slowly eroding your self-respect over time. It can look like dismissiveness, where your thoughts, feelings, or opinions are consistently minimized or ignored. It can appear as emotional neglect, where your needs and vulnerabilities are brushed aside, leaving you feeling unseen and unimportant. Other times, disrespect comes in broken promises. You are told one thing, yet the reality rarely matches, and the avoidant never takes responsibility for the inconsistency. They may minimize your needs, suggesting they are unimportant or secondary to their comfort. Silence can be another form of control, a passive weapon used to manipulate your emotional responses, without ever directly confronting the issue. The danger of these subtle forms of disrespect is that the first time you excuse them, you normalize them. You teach the avoidant, consciously or unconsciously, that disrespect is acceptable, and avoidants are experts at testing boundaries, often without realizing it themselves. If you tolerate even one instance of disrespect, they assume that future behavior will also be tolerated. This creates a pattern where small instances snowball into larger patterns of disregard, and before long, your self-respect has been chipped away without overt confrontation. Respect in a relationship is not built through patience alone. Waiting and hoping for change rarely works with someone who avoids accountability. Respect is built through standards, clear, non-negotiable boundaries that protect your emotional and mental well-being. You do not need to argue, plead, or threaten. You do not need to justify yourself or explain your worth. The most effective and powerful boundary is action-based, not verbal. It is enforced through the removal of access when respect is missing. Removing access doesn't mean being cruel or reactive. It means stepping back, protecting your time, your energy, and your emotional safety. It communicates to the avoidant that disrespect has consequences, and that engagement in the relationship is contingent upon mutual respect. Behavior, not words, becomes the standard, and this is what creates accountability. When you refuse to tolerate disrespect even once, you are not being harsh, you are being clear. You are defining what is acceptable and what is not, and you are preserving your dignity. You are setting a precedent for how you allow others to treat you, one that the avoidant must either meet or choose to walk away from. This is the boundary that protects your emotional integrity and ensures that relationships are built on genuine care, respect, and reciprocity. Disrespect tolerated once becomes a pattern. Respect enforced consistently becomes the standard. Never compromise on this rule, because your self-respect is non-negotiable. Avoidants don't need more understanding. They don't need you to overanalyze their behavior, rationalize their distance, or bend yourself to accommodate their fears. What they truly need is clear boundaries, a framework that protects your energy, your emotions, and your self-respect. Boundaries are not walls, they are the foundation for healthy connection. They allow you to remain whole while engaging with someone who struggles with intimacy. And here's the important part: you don't need to be colder, distant, or unfeeling. Groundedness is not coldness, it is strength. It is the ability to show care while maintaining your own standards, the ability to be present without losing yourself, and the ability to love without surrendering your identity. When you stop doing these 5 things, over-prioritizing them, fixing their emotional problems, competing for their attention, over-investing too soon, or tolerating disrespect, something shifts. Either they rise to meet you, stepping up, showing consistency, and earning the connection you offer, or they fade away, revealing that the relationship was never balanced to begin with. Both outcomes are protective. Both outcomes preserve your energy and honor your worth, and that ultimately is the real win, knowing that your value is not negotiable and that you no longer settle for imbalance, inconsistency, or disrespect. So take this knowledge and apply it. Set your boundaries clearly and firmly, and observe how it transforms the dynamic. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss guidance on relationships, emotional health, and understanding avoidance. And don't forget to comment below, share your experiences, thoughts, or questions. Let's build a community where we learn, grow, and support each other in navigating these complex dynamics.